Erlendur, I must say it was quite a coincidence when Mark booked you to see on your website a name I haven't heard of in a number of years, but my parents were devotees for a time in London, and I attended numerous prayer meetings of a man called Sai Baba.
Yes.
I didn't realize that you were...
Aware
or an investigator of the miracles, shall we say, of Sai Baba. He's passed on now, I know, last year or the year before.
Yeah,
How did you get involved in Sai Baba?
Well, I was in India in the early 70s with an American colleague, Karlis Osis, and we were there to make a major study of deathbed visions, which, by the way, was also done in the United States around the same time. And when we were working there, we would sometimes ask some of the physicians or personnel there in these hospitals, mostly university hospitals, if they knew any yogis or gurus or swamis who had some extraordinary abilities. And then a few names came up, but more often than any other name was the name of Sai Baba. And then soon we met people who had had a personal encounter with him, and we had more and more stories about him. So we became interested in him. And at the end of one of our journeys to northern India, where we were studying these deathbed visions, we decided to go down to put a party where he lived and see the man. And we did. And that was the beginning of my involvement with Sai Baba. We were not able to do any experiments with him. So my book is primarily about my observations of him. And then I interviewed a great number of people, both his devotees and his critics and his casual and the casual visitors and so on. So I spent a lot of time studying Sai Baba, and I wrote in the end a book about him. Miracles are my visiting cards, or in America it was published as Modern Miracles. So I became quite involved with the study of the phenomena of Sai Baba. And he was really very remarkable. And there were claims of paranormal phenomena or miracles, if you like, that are very unique, and some of them even that look like the miracles described in the New Testament.
He had a reputation for materializing medals and pieces of jewelry.
Well, that was a daily occurrence that he will materialize or produce somehow little gifts that he would give to people. They might be rings or pendants or fruits or sweets or various, great variety of things. And he would, one thing was very striking, that he would do this so often. I think my estimate was that he might produce like 20 every day. And that was just day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year. And he gave all this material away. But then, of course, magicians, they can sort of let appear in their hands various things.
Yeah, of course.
Easily, yes, but they don't give it away. They do not give away gold ring and jewelry. And,
good point.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, that is interesting. We looked when Basil mentioned Sai Baba to me. I hadn't heard of him, and I looked on at YouTube and I saw some videos about him, and they were basically all saying that it was just sleight of hand, magic trickery, and he was using ash pills and palming, I think it's called, palming jewelry.
Yes.
And it did look pretty convincing, the video. It did look like it was a hoax.
Think, unfortunately, the critics, and I have studied them very carefully and interviewed some of them, his most severe critics, as far as the normal explanation is concerned, have never really come close to him. They have never observed him. They have never bothered to look at the whole evidence, not just individual single instances. So maybe it was all trickery, but then it was a trickery of a greater kind than we have ever seen by any magicians before.
As you say,
sometimes also he would produce things like on the spur of the moment, and so it was like a response to something that came up in the conversation. Like I remember once when we were trying to get him involved in experiments, and he always wanted to talk about the religion and the religious life and so on, but we were of course interested in experiments and in the scientific view. And then he said at one time that daily life and spiritual life should be like a double rudraksha. Well, I had never heard what a rudraksha is. And my colleague Karlis Osis didn't know what a rudraksha is. And so I asked them, what is rudraksha? What's a double rudraksha? And he tried to explain, but couldn't do it. And our interpreter couldn't understand it, couldn't explain it either. But I was very insistent on this and asked him some 3-4 times. So in the end, he seems to lose patience and then just waved his hand and said, and opened the palm and showed me, this is it. And then there was a rudraksha in his palm. So sometimes these things seem to appear spontaneously.
What is a rudraksha? That's what is?
Yes, well, you asked like I did. A rudraksha is a kernel of a fruit, like a stone in a plum. And but the rudraksha is a very famous kernel of fruit in India, and because it has a hole through the middle of it, and when you see these holy men in India, they always have a garland of rudrakshas. So there is some religious meaning of a rudraksha, which I was not aware of at that time. Well, then there are also many instances about Sai Baba. You mentioned Vibhuti. He creates.
I should just point out the bhuti is the or rebhuti is the powder that he. Oh, what's the? How could you say? It just seems to.
Ash.
It's a powder. It just, it emanates from him. I don't know where it comes from. I just want to point out what that is.
The Vibhuti serves a similar role in Hinduism as the bread or the wine in Christianity. And he often produces this more often than anything else and gives it to people very freely. But sometimes this Vibhuti appears on like photos of him or other holy men or deities. And in an inexplicable way. And I have visited many such places in India, in Sri Lanka, even in England, in London, and in the United States. And sometimes even, well, I can tell you one story. I was once going to Sri Lanka, but I had to stop in Lebanon, and I hadn't had time to get my visa for Sri Lanka here in Iceland, because then I had to get it from Stockholm. So I decided to get my visa for Sri Lanka in the embassy in Beirut. So I went there, filled out the form, and they told me if I had patience, I could wait for it. And then after a while, one of the secretaries came and told me the consul would like to see me. And so I went to see the consul, and then he was with my passport in his hand and said, "Your name sounds familiar to me. Did you not write a book about Sai Baba?" Yes, I had read the book. Then he told me, then I must tell you something about something that happened to me. He told me that he had a daughter. This was an elderly man, I think about 60 or a little older. And she had at that time been very sick, and he feared about her life. So he decided, he had been told about it, sometimes it might help to pray to Sai Baba for help. And he did that, and his daughter recovered for whatever reason. And then he was so happy with this that he got a photograph of Sai Baba in a large frame and hung it up in his apartment. And then he told me soon after that, there started to come some dust on the cover of the photo, and he told me, "I live upstairs in this building. Would you like to see it?" So he invited me up to his apartment, and there in his bedroom, opposite to his bed, was a large frame photograph of Sai Baba. With the photograph and the glass and the frame. And then I saw that on the glass were streaks of vibhuti on it, but also between the glass and the photo. And he told me he had never opened the frame, so it was a mystery to him how this had happened. But this man, this consul, he told me he had never seen Sai Baba. He had no particular sort of connection with him apart from sort of his praying for help at one time and being impressed with Sai Baba since. So how did this happen? Such a long distance. And there are many distance phenomena like that. And those who say that this is all easily explainable, I think they do not consider, they do not look at the full picture. They just take one or two little instances which may be explained easily.
Erlendur, I have one traditionally awkward question. If he was capable of generating matter of some description, such as this dust or jewelry or watches, did he ever create something bigger than you could fit in your hand?
Well, he created at least one. I know one case of a statue that is much bigger than his hand. And I also saw him once create a large, like a garland for an American lady who was having a marriage sort of what do you call it? She was she had been married some 30 years ago, and
anniversary.
Anniversary, yes. Yeah. And he materialized for a big thing with various stones and things like that, made of gold, very beautiful. But it was too large, really, to
not something you could squash.
The palm.
Could you squash it down to make it smaller, or was it solid?
No, it is very solid. It was very solid.
That is interesting.
Yeah. And sometimes also he will, and I noticed that, he will ask someone to hold the palms together and then sort of have an open hand, and then he would sort of move his fingers a bit, and then it become full of some sweet, which is more than he could keep in his own hand, and then he would give that sweet to all the people around. And then perhaps someone in the back, when all that is given away, comes along and says, well, I didn't get any. And then he will make one more and give it to that person. So Sai Baba is not easy to explain.
No.
Yeah.
I'm familiar.
Things may be easy to explain, and there were also claims from some of the students around him that he would be keeping things in his chair and so on his later years. But I think that came rather late in his life, and
I'm familiar with many of those stories, because although I had never witnessed Sai Baba, at the meetings I used to go to would be perhaps, I don't know what you'd call it, a disciple, and they would carry out many of the same
miracles
and things. But I'm just wondering, was there ever a study done on the Babuti by a laboratory or anything to find out what it was exactly?
Yes. Well, I had the Vibhuti chemically analyzed, and there is nothing mysterious about it. It is primarily silicon. It's like a desert sand. Vibhuti really stems from the, what do you call, the excrete or the shit of the cow. And when it is burned, then ash is left, and that's Vibhuti.
Interesting.
And it is... there's nothing mysterious about it. And if I may mention, my book on Sai Baba, it will, I think later this year or perhaps next, be published, updated in England.
Yeah, because he passed away, didn't he, last year or the year before?
Yes, he passed away last spring. Sorry, last year. Yes.
But I think he had predicted an age for his death, but I don't think it was the age he died, if I remember.
He predicted his age, that he would die around 1920, 21, and but that didn't turn out to be his case. He died 10 years too early for that.
That's right. So what was your, I mean, you were there and you saw him. What was your feeling on the whole thing about him? How do you feel yourself about the man? Do you think he actually had paranormal powers?
Well, when I look at the cases I studied, and and also some of the things I observed, it is hard to not to think that he had some paranormal abilities. And then he impressed thousands and thousands of people with his performances or whatever you want to call it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes. And there really hasn't been anyone like him.
No, and I've known nuclear scientists and all kinds of people who were devotees of Sai Baba in my time. The most impressive type of people.
Thank you once more, Erlendur, for coming on the show. We're going to wrap up there. We've come to the end. It's been very interesting, fascinating stuff. And I must admit, I was surprised at what you had to say about Sai Baba. I had him down as 100% magician, but we shall see.
Well, that's a tricky one, Mark.
Yeah. But thank you, Erlendur, and we hope to get you on again.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. Nice talking to you.
Thanks, Erlendur. Bye-bye.
Have a good day, sir.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.